In the headlines, cricket to restart in Antigua and Barbuda. TTFA files a termination order, and MLB investigates the Dodger. Good evening and welcome to the major ZDK Sports Edition for Thursday, October 29, 2020. I am your presenter, Terry Laraji. And now for the details. We begin tonight bowling off with cricket. Announced in today's Cabinet press conference, Antigua and Barbuda will be opening up the country in some capacity with the restarting of competitive cricket. According to Minister of Communications Melford Nicholas, the government have met with representatives of Cricket West Indies, Leeward Islands Cricket Board and the Antigua and Barbuda Cricket Association, who outlined the considerable benefit to the country in hosting international matches.
There are certain economic benefits to come to Antigua with respect to the resumption of international cricket within our borders. We have two well-developed facilities, the Vivian Richards Stadium and the facilities at the VC Bird International Airport. And so the exploitation of these two infrastructures to support the itinerary that the West Indies Cricket Board has planned for the coming year. It's a very busy itinerary, and the fact that Antigua could become host in a number of these instances is an important consideration.
According to Nicholas, local cricket could restart as early as December.
Locally as well, Antigua Barbuda Cricket Association has expressed a strong interest in being able to restart the domestic tournament, perhaps maybe even as early as December of this year. So we have given an indication to them that we are supportive of the resumption of cricket, of competitive cricket, both locally, regionally and internationally. That will spell, though, a need for us to change the provisions of the regulations, and so we'll have to spell that out in the regulations in the week to come. But the Cabinet does in fact support the requests made by the three institutions that came and visited yesterday.
Melford Nicholas. And West Indies assistant coach Roddy Eswick has urged the Caribbean side to step up to the next level in the upcoming Test series against New Zealand, stressing it was time to start producing series wins in order to become a force to be reckoned with. Speaking ahead of the squad's departure for the November 27 to December 15 tour, Eswick said the time had come in the Windies' development to move beyond the occasional Test victory to a stage where they were playing consistently enough to win series. West Indies have not won a Test series on New Zealand soil in a quarter of a century and have won just 3 of 12 series overall inside the last 5 years. Eswick said if the Windies were to be successful, they needed to pull all the facets of their game together, but also needed to show plenty of character against a very strong home side. Meanwhile, West Indies legend Clive Lloyd does not believe discarded batsman Shai Hope should be playing T20 cricket, as the sport's shortest format ruins his game. After a barren run of form, which has led to the player averaging 19.48 since December 2017 and just 14.45 since February 2019, Hope was dropped from the team ahead of the upcoming tour of New Zealand. Speaking on today's Sportsline show, former West Indies fast bowler Kenneth Benjamin feels that Hope's problem is more mental than anything.
I personally think Shai Hope's problem is mental. I believe that he's played so much T20 and the shorter version that he sort of gets into some bad habits. And I think it is a mental situation that he has lost some of his form, and so I don't believe what they did is a bad thing, but they have to make sure that the mental part, that whole mental approach, that mental training again, to curb that mindset, that has to be a very important part of whatever program that he is involved in.
Kenneth Benjamin. Hope will be working on getting his touch back with franchise coaches in his native Barbados. Meantime, West Indies Red Ball captain Jason Holder recently told how it is untenable to expect players to continue to spend extended periods in a biosecure bubble amid the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And CWI CEO Johnny Grave, while speaking on ZDK's Sportsline show, felt that it was a valid point, seeing how it would take its toll.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think it's very valid, and, obviously we have to do everything that we possibly can do to keep the players safe when they're playing cricket, and that's led to this biosecure environment that is very unusual and is very difficult for the players. They are completely confined to being in a hotel or being at a cricket ground, and over a long period of time, especially being away from friends and family, I think it does take its toll.
However, on the upcoming tour of New Zealand, Grave explained that due to the COVID situation in that country, the players will have a little more freedom.
It's one of the big advantages if everything goes to plan that the New Zealand tour will be very different. So if New Zealand threat level remains at level 1, there'll be crowds at the games, and after their 14-day quarantine, they'll be free to interact with New Zealand society like they would in any normal tour.
Johnny Grave. Meanwhile, legendary Australia spinner Shane Warne has claimed West Indies batsman Marlon Samuels needs serious help after recent posts that denigrated both the bowler and England all-rounder Ben Stokes. The comments, which were posted to Samuels' Instagram page, called Stokes unflattering terms and also made lewd suggestions regarding the player's wife. The comments came after Stokes recently revealed his difficult experiences in New Zealand quarantine, which he insisted he would not visit on his worst enemy, not even Marlon Samuels. Stokes and Samuels have been part of a long-running feud that goes back to 2015. Warne and Samuels have also had a fierce rivalry over the years, but it is not clear what the trigger was to involve the former spinner this time round. In criticising Warne, Samuels brought up an alleged incident involving a girlfriend of the spinner and accused him of begging jobs in cricket. In a terse response, Warne claimed Samuels had no friend at all and that not even his ex-teammates liked him, urging the player to get help. Meantime, Ravindra Jadeja smashed the final 2 balls of the match for 6 as Chennai Super Kings severely dented Kolkata Knight Riders' IPL playoff hopes with a thrilling 6-wicket win in Dubai today. Already eliminated Chennai required 7 from 2 balls to reach their target of 165 after Kolkata seamer Kamlesh Nagakoti had shipped just 3 runs from his first 4 deliveries. But Jadeja, 31 not out of 11 balls, proceeded to smoke Nagakoti over deep mid-wicket and wide long on, having initially brought Chennai back into a fluctuating contest by smashing Lockie Ferguson's 19th over for 20. Scores: Chennai Super Kings 178 for 4, Gaekwad 72, Jadeja 31 not out, Cummins 2 for 31. Beat Kolkata Knight Riders 172 for 5, Rana 87, Ngidi 2 for 34. The loss for the Knight Riders also means the Mumbai Indians are now assured of a spot in the playoffs. In other sporting developments tonight, diving into swimming, Antigua and Barbuda could have a potential medalist at next year's Olympic Games by way of the swimming pool. Of Antiguan parentage, 19-year-old Nanyaya Joseph is currently studying and training for the Games in Brisbane, Australia for the 50-metre freestyle, and according to her father Bertrand, since being in Australia, her times are improving.
Yes, she's hoping to qualify. She's a 50-meter freestyle, and her times is now in the high 26. But when she went to Australia, she was in the 29s. So she has improved drastically over the last 2 years.
However, as Joseph explained, there is no guarantee she will qualify to swim for Antigua and Barbuda, having been born in Namibia.
Well, I prefer to swim for Antigua, and she also wants to swim for Antigua, but the Namibian government have invested in her, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. But she told me that she prefer to swim for Antigua because she learned to swim in Antigua. She started at the athletic club. That's where she started.
Bertrand Joseph. If Nanyaya doesn't make the Olympics, she is hopeful she will make the following year's Swimming World Championships. Moving into drafts, the Antigua and Barbuda Drafts Association, ABDA, during this downtime have been holding training sessions each Thursday night, practicing the art of recording and timing each and every move. President of the ABDA, Trevor Cranston, explained on today's Sportsline show the importance of this practice for overseas tournaments.
This system has been enforced by the International Draft Federation, and in order for a player to participate in any tournaments, to be eligible to participate in overseas tournaments, you must be au fait with this recording system and also the clocks. Some time ago in 2018, we had our draft tournament at the Pitch Barn restaurant, and we used the clocks in the Masters division. It is a system that we're using now. We're ensuring that all the members of the association are au fait with the recording system and the usage of the clocks.
Trevor Cranston. Practice continues tonight at the Lower Otters Community Centre from 6:30 p.m. Kicking into football, attorneys representing the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, TTFA, yesterday filed a termination order before the Court of Arbitration for Sport effectively ending their appeal of the suspension imposed on the association by FIFA last month. The termination order is in keeping with the resolutions arrived at on Sunday by the delegates of the association who voted en masse to end their 7-month dispute with the world governing body over a March 18 decision to appoint a normalization committee to manage the affairs of the debt-ridden association until the next annual general meeting, scheduled for some time within the next 3 years. Meantime, last night in the Champions League, Marcus Rashford came off the bench to score a clinical hat-trick as Manchester United continued their recent momentum by taking apart RB Leipzig 5-0, while Barcelona provided the best response to the turmoil off the pitch after the entire board resigned by convincingly beating Juventus 2-0. And Jamaica reggae boy forward Malik Foster remains in hospital after he was shot and injured in Southborough, Portmore, St. Catherine on Tuesday night during an incident in which 2 men were killed. The 23-year-old forward was among a group of friends when gunmen opened fire. Foster was hit in the neck and was taken to hospital. Horace Reed, the director of Caribbean football at CONCACAF, who has been in contact with Foster, said the player underwent scans this afternoon, but he will not be released from hospital until doctors have reviewed the results of the scans and determined that it is safe for him to be discharged. Serving into tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic beat Borna Koric to reach the Vienna Open quarterfinals yesterday and all but secured the year-end top ranking. Australian Open champion Djokovic beat Croatia's Koric 7-6, 6-3 to reach the last 8 in Bulgaria. Djokovic could only be passed by Rafael Nadal, who would need to take a wildcard into next month's Sofia event to try and overhaul him. However, if Djokovic wins the title in Vienna on Sunday, he cannot be overtaken. Driving into motor racing, the Italian government has banned spectators from attending this weekend's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at the historic Imola track. Imola had hoped to allow 13,000 spectators into the track on Saturday and Sunday, but the rise of coronavirus cases across Italy has forced a U-turn. The government has banned crowds at events, among a raft of other measures, to slow the spread of the virus. Formula One said it understands and respects the decision taken by the authorities. Pitching into baseball, Major League Baseball, MLB, is investigating LA Dodgers' Justin Turner after he returned to the field in the final World Series match despite testing positive for COVID-19. The 35-year-old was withdrawn midway through the game and placed in isolation after his result came back. However, he returned to celebrate with his teammates following their 3-1 win over Tampa Bay Rays in Texas, their first World Series triumph in 32 years. And finally tonight on this day in history, in 1877, birth of the man Neville Cardus described as Yorkshire cricket personified. Wilfred Rhodes was arguably England's best ever all-rounder, a fine stroke maker who started his test career at number 11 and ended up opening the batting, and a slow left armour so precise and cunning in flight that the great Victor Trumper once implored, "For God's sake, Wilfred, give me a minute's rest." Rhodes was the oldest man to play Test cricket at 52 years, 165 days in the West Indies in 1929-30, and the only man to have a Test career spanning more than 30 years, 1899 to 1930. He took a record 4,187 first-class wickets at a cost of only 16.71 apiece. His finest Test moments came in Melbourne in 1903-04. He took 15 for 124, and 8 years later he matched Jack Hobbs run for run in an opening partnership of 323, England's highest in Ashes Tests. He lost his eyesight in later life and died in Dorset in 1973. And that story has brought us to the end of our sporting developments for tonight. Now to recap our top story. Announced in today's Cabinet press conference, Antigua and Barbuda will be opening up the country in some capacity with the restarting of competitive cricket. I have been your presenter, Terry Laraji. Thank you for listening. To watch ZDK Sports Package, go to the YouTube channel of Terry Laraji, The Straight Bat, and subscribe. Stay tuned now for your Voice of America update. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.